Captain Vorax, Tarn of the Galactic Confederation survey vessel Eternal Seeker, flicked his upper mandibles in what his species considered a smirk. Would you look at that? They are still using combustion engines. How quaint. The massive viewscreen displayed a blue-green planet, third from its unremarkable yellow star. Various spacecraft and satellites orbited the world like primitive jewelry adorning a savage. Most were simple communication devices or crude observation platforms. A particularly large construction served as their primary habitat in space. "Careful, Captain," Science Officer Nillara Vex cautioned, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "The assessment team advises we not underestimate these humans." She pronounced the word carefully, the universal translator struggling with the harsh consonants of the species' self-designation. "Underestimate? Please." Tarn waved a clawed appendage dismissively. "They have barely left their own gravity well. According to our records, they have only visited their own moon a handful of times, and that was decades ago. They are practically infants." Lieutenant Krex Doven, the ship's tactical officer, chittered softly from his station. "Infants with nuclear weapons, sir." "Nuclear?" Tarn barked a laugh. "We abandoned such primitive technology 8 centuries ago. Might as well fear a child with a stone axe." The bridge crew exchanged glances. The Confederation had strict first contact protocols, especially for species that hadn't yet achieved faster-than-light travel. But Captain Tarn was known throughout the fleet for his flexible interpretation of regulations. "Sir," Communications Officer Zyla Mox interrupted, her tentacles undulating with concern. "We are receiving a transmission from the planet. They have detected us." Tarn straightened his spinal ridge. "Already? How interesting. Perhaps they are not complete primitives after all. Put them through." The viewscreen flickered, replacing the image of Earth with the face of a human. The creature had flat features, small eyes, and a covering of short fur on the top of its head. Its skin was a pale pinkish tan, and it wore some kind of uniform with colorful symbols on the shoulders. "Unknown vessel," the human said, its voice surprisingly firm. "This is General Thomas Parker of Earth's United Defense Force. You have entered restricted space. Identify yourself immediately." Tarn's mandibles clicked together in amusement. The universal translator was working perfectly, converting the human's sound-based language into something comprehensible. How primitive to communicate through controlled air vibrations rather than the much more efficient pheromone bursts or neural links used by advanced species. "I am Captain Vorax Tarn of the Galactic Confederation survey vessel Eternal Seeker." "We come in peace, General Parker." Tarn couldn't resist adding, "We are simply conducting a routine assessment of developing worlds." The human's face remained impassive, but Tarn noticed a slight narrowing of its eyes. Fascinating how expressive these creatures were with such limited facial structures. "We were unaware of any Galactic Confederation," Parker replied. "But I must inform you that without prior authorization, your presence here violates our sovereign space. We request that you withdraw to beyond the lunar orbit while we establish diplomatic protocols." Tarn made a gesture that his species used to indicate patronizing amusement. "Request noted, General. However, Confederation regulations grant us authority to conduct non-invasive scans of pre-FTL civilizations. We will maintain our position for approximately 72 of your hours." Parker's expression hardened. "Captain Tarn, I must insist." Tarn cut the transmission with a flick of his claw. "Such audacity. They think they can dictate terms to a Confederation vessel?" Science Officer Vex approached cautiously. "Sir, the protocols suggest we should respect their boundaries while—" "The protocols are guidelines, Vex, not commands," Tarn interrupted. "These humans need to understand their place in the galactic hierarchy. We will proceed with our scans as planned." "Yes, sir," Vex replied, her voice tinged with reluctance. "What specifically are we looking for?" Tarn's compound eyes gleamed. "Weaknesses, exploitable resources. The usual. The Confederation Mining Guild is particularly interested in this system." Apparently, this planet has substantial reserves of rare minerals. Lieutenant Doven shifted uncomfortably. Sir, mining operations on inhabited worlds require consent from the native species under Article 7 of the Confederation Charter. Indeed they do, Lieutenant, Tarn agreed smoothly. But Article 3 also states that primitive species may be guided toward mutually beneficial arrangements when they lack the perspective to see the advantages of Confederation partnership. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what guided meant in practice. Begin comprehensive scans, Tarn ordered. I want everything military capabilities, population centers, government structures, communication networks. Let's see what we are dealing with. Scans initiated, Captain, reported sensor technician Jorax Pym. Interesting, their technology is remarkably inconsistent. Some areas show surprisingly advanced development, while others remain quite primitive. Typical of emerging species, Tarn dismissed. They develop unevenly. What about defenses? Limited orbital capabilities. Missile-based planetary defense systems. Rudimentary energy shields around key installations. Nothing that poses a significant threat to a Confederation vessel. Tarn's mandibles formed what his species considered a smile. Excellent. And their biological profile? Science Officer Vex consulted her station. Carbon-based. Bilateral symmetry. Endoskeletal structure. Surprisingly adaptable physiology. They appear to occupy nearly every ecological niche on their planet, from Arctic regions to deserts. Quite resilient for such a fragile-looking species. Resilient or not, they will soon learn the benefits of Confederation oversight, Tarn said. Continue scans. I want a complete strategic assessment within 12 hours. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a facility that officially didn't exist, General Parker stared at the now blank screen with narrowed eyes. They cut the transmission, he stated flatly. Dr. Samantha Reed, the head of the Exobiology Division, nodded. Yes, sir. Quite rudely, I might add. What's your assessment, Doctor? Reed tapped her tablet, bringing up the preliminary analysis. Based on visual data, we are dealing with an arthropod-like species. Their technology is obviously far beyond ours. The fact that they could translate our language instantly suggests extremely advanced computational capabilities. Parker grunted. And their intentions? Hard to say definitively, but that captain didn't exactly radiate goodwill. Reed hesitated. Sir, their scans are penetrating our most secure facilities. They are mapping everything. Colonel Jack Frost, head of Special Operations, leaned forward. They are sizing us up, sir, like predators evaluating prey. That was my read as well, Parker agreed. Recommendations? Activate Project Lazarus, Frost said without hesitation. A heavy silence fell over the room. Project Lazarus was the ultimate contingency plan, developed after decades of secretly studying recovered alien technology from various incidents. It was dangerous, experimental, and absolutely classified beyond top secret. The candidates aren't fully integrated yet, Reed objected. The neural interfaces are still being calibrated. We need at least another month. We don't have a month, Frost countered. These Confederation folks aren't here for a friendly chat. You heard that bug-faced captain. They want something from Earth, and they don't seem particularly concerned with asking nicely. Parker stared at the ceiling for a long moment. How many candidates are ready? Even partially? Reed consulted her tablet again. 7, maybe 8, if we push the parameters, but that increases the risk of neural rejection. And if that happens? Parker asked quietly. Reed met his gaze directly. Best case? A permanent coma. Worst case? Their brains literally cook inside their skulls. Frost whistled. Hell of a coin toss. Parker closed his eyes briefly. Get me the candidates' files. I want to talk to them personally before making this call. They are already here, sir, Reed said. As soon as we detected the alien vessel, Protocol Omega went into effect. They have been brought to sublevel 12. Parker nodded grimly. Then let's not keep them waiting. Sublevel 12 looked more like a high-end gym than a secret military installation. 8 men and women in matching gray tracksuits were gathered around a holographic display of the alien vessel. They fell silent as Parker, Reed, and Frost entered. Ladies and gentlemen. Parker began without preamble. The situation is this: we have an alien vessel in orbit. They call themselves the Galactic Confederation. They are scanning our planet. Their intentions appear hostile, or at minimum, exploitative, and they have technology that makes our most advanced systems look like stone tools. A tall woman with close cropped gray hair stepped forward. Then it's time to wake the sleepers, sir. Parker studied her. Major Diana Wolf, former Special Forces. 3 tours in conflict zones. Expert in asymmetric warfare. He looked around at the others. All of you are here because you are the best we have. You have all volunteered for a program you barely understand, knowing the risks. A younger man with dark skin and intense eyes spoke up. With respect, General, we understand enough. The sleepers are our ace in the hole. They have been waiting for this moment. That's right, Lieutenant Omar Dixon, Parker acknowledged. But what Dr. Reed is telling me is that the integration process isn't complete. Using the neural interfaces now could kill you. Dixon shrugged. Better to die trying than live as slaves to some bug-eyed overlords. No offense, Dr. Reed. Reed's lips twitched. None taken, Lieutenant. Parker looked at each of them in turn. I'm not ordering any of you to do this. Given the risks, this has to be completely voluntary. Major Wolf crossed her arms. Sir, we all signed up knowing this day might come. I'm in. One by one, the others nodded their agreement. Parker took a deep breath. Dr. Reed, begin the integration process. Colonel Frost, implement distraction protocols. If these Confederation folks want to scan us, let's give them something interesting to look at. As the team dispersed to prepare, Parker caught Wolf by the arm. Diana, I have known you for 15 years. Are you sure about this? Wolf's eyes were steady. Thomas, we have been preparing for first contact since Roswell. We always knew it might not be friendly. That's why we recovered and reverse-engineered what we could. That's why we created the sleepers. She smiled slightly. Besides, I have always wanted to pilot a mech suit. It's a bit more than a mech suit, Diana, Parker said dryly. If the neural interface works, you will essentially become one with an artificial intelligence that's been dormant for decades. An AI designed for one purpose. Wolf finished. I know. That's why they need us human judgment paired with their processing power and combat capabilities. The perfect synthesis. Parker shook his head. It's never been tested in actual combat. Then we will write the manual as we go, Wolf replied. Like humans always do. Aboard the Eternal Seeker, Captain Tarn reviewed the scan results with growing satisfaction. Their military capabilities are exactly as we expected, he told his officers. Limited spacefaring ability. No FTL? Primitive weapons. They could cause minor damage to our outer hull at best. Their population is substantial, Vex noted. Over 8 billion individuals spread across all continents. Tarn waved dismissively. Numbers alone mean little against our technology. Besides, we don't want to harm them, merely guide them toward the correct path of development. Under Confederation supervision, of course. Of course, Vex murmured, her tone neutral. I have identified their primary governmental and military installations, Lieutenant Doven reported. Their command structure appears fragmented multiple nation-states rather than a unified planetary government. Excellent, Tarn said. Division makes control simpler. But we will approach the dominant powers individually, offering technological incentives in exchange for resource rights. And if they refuse? Doven asked. Tarn's mandibles clicked together. They won't, once we demonstrate the alternative. Prepare a targeting solution for a minor demonstration. Something impressive but not catastrophic. Perhaps one of their uninhabited small islands. Doven hesitated. Sir, that would violate at least 3 sections of the Confederation Charter regarding first contact protocols, which I will take full responsibility for, Tarn replied smoothly. The Mining Guild has made it clear that this system is a priority. The bonuses for securing it will set us all up quite comfortably. He looked around the bridge. Any other concerns? No one spoke. The promise of wealth was a powerful motivator. Very good. Lieutenant Doven, you have 20 minutes to select a suitable demonstration target. Communications Officer Mox prepared to re-establish contact with their General Parker. I believe he will be more reasonable after we have illustrated the technological gap between us. As the bridge crew carried out their orders, Science Officer Vex approached Tarn privately. Captain, I have noticed some anomalies in the scan data. Several large installations show unusual energy signatures that don't match any known human technology in our database. Tarn frowned. Elaborate. The signatures are faint but distinctive. They almost resemble dormant Krezlor power cores. Impossible, Tarn scoffed. Krezlor technology is advanced even by Confederation standards. These humans are nowhere near that level of development. Nevertheless, Vex persisted. The similarity is striking. I recommend a more detailed scan of these facilities before we proceed with any demonstration. Tarn considered this. Very well. Your caution is noted and appreciated, Science Officer, and direct the auxiliary sensors to investigate these anomalies. But don't delay our timetable. The demonstration proceeds as planned. Vex bowed slightly. Yes, Captain. As she returned to her station, Vex couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. Something about this planet didn't add up. The humans' technology was indeed primitive in many respects, but those energy signatures, they shouldn't exist here. Not unless. She dismissed the thought as absurd. Humans couldn't possibly have obtained advanced technology from another source. They were isolated, undeveloped, alone in their solar system. Weren't they? In the cavernous chamber of sublevel 15, 8 massive humanoid forms stood in silent rows. Each stood over 20 feet tall, their metallic bodies gleaming under the harsh lights. They weren't simply robots or mechanical suits, they were something far more advanced, recovered from a crashed alien vessel decades ago. The Sleepers. Dr. Reed led the 8 volunteers along the line of towering figures. These are symbiotic combat units, she explained. They are designed to bond with a compatible nervous system, creating a direct neural interface between pilot and machine. The AI cores have been dormant since we recovered them in 1947. Lieutenant Dixon whistled. Roswell wasn't just a weather balloon after all. The public story was a necessary deception, Reed acknowledged. What crashed wasn't a Confederation vessel. Based on the markings and technology, we believe it belonged to a species called the Krezlor, apparently extinct now, according to the limited data we could extract. Major Wolf approached one of the Sleepers, a slightly smaller unit with more streamlined features. This one's mine? Reed nodded. Unit 7. It showed the strongest compatibility with your neural patterns during preliminary testing. Does it have a name? Wolf asked, placing a hand on the cool metal surface. If it does, we haven't discovered it, Reed replied. The Krezlor language remains largely undeciphered despite decades of effort. Colonel Frost checked his watch. We need to move this along, people. Our guests upstairs won't stay patient forever. Reed nodded. Right. Each of you has been assigned a unit based on compatibility testing. The integration process is intense. You will feel a complete sensory merger. Your consciousness will expand to encompass the unit's systems while the dormant AI will interface with your thought patterns. Will we still be us? Asked a wiry man with a distinctive scar across his cheek. That's the million-dollar question, Captain Tyler Ross, Reed said. Based on our simulations, yes, your core personality and memories should remain intact. But you will gain access to the unit's knowledge base and combat protocols. Should? Ross pressed. Reed met his gaze directly. There are no guarantees, Captain. This technology is far beyond our complete understanding. That's why this is voluntary. We are wasting time, Wolf interjected. Those aliens up there aren't here for a cultural exchange. Let's do this. Reed nodded to her team of technicians. Begin the integration sequence. Panels slid open on each sleeper's chest, revealing a chamber just large enough for a human occupant. Inside, a web of delicate filaments pulsed with soft blue light. The neural interface will establish connection through direct contact with your cerebral cortex, Reed explained as the volunteers positioned themselves. You may experience disorientation, sensory overload, possibly pain. If at any point the discomfort becomes unbearable, the emergency extraction protocol is a simple mental command: disconnect. Wolf stepped up to Unit 7's open chamber. Just like getting into a hot bath. Don't think about it, just do it. She stepped inside, and the others followed suit. As each volunteer entered their assigned unit, the filaments within began to glow more intensely. Integration commencing, Reed announced as the chest panels began to close. Handshake in 3, 2, 1. The chamber erupted with blinding light as 8 voices cried out in unison: pain, shock, and something else. Something like awakening. General Parker watched from the observation deck, his face grim. God help us all, he murmured. And God help those aliens if this works. Captain Tarn was growing impatient. Science Officer Vex, report on those anomalous energy signatures. Vex looked up from her instruments, her 4 eyes blinking rapidly, a sign of agitation in her species. Captain, the signatures have changed. They are no longer dormant. Power levels are increasing exponentially. What? Show me. The view screen displayed a heat map of Earth's surface, with several locations now glowing bright red. These installations were nearly invisible to our scans an hour ago, Vex explained. Now they are generating power outputs comparable to a Confederation cruiser. Lieutenant Dovin looked up sharply from his tactical station. Sir, I'm detecting movement. Multiple large objects ascending rapidly from the planet's surface. Orbital defenses? Tarn asked, mandibles clicking nervously. Negative. These are different. Configuration unknown. 8 objects, each approximately 20 units in height. Humanoid in structure. Humanoid, Tarn repeated incredulously. Display visual. The view screen shifted to show 8 massive figures rising through Earth's atmosphere, surrounded by a shimmering energy field that protected them from the heat of atmospheric exit. They moved with impossible grace for their size, their metallic bodies reflecting the sunlight. Impossible, Tarn whispered. Those are Krezlor battle units. They have been extinct for millennia. Sir, Communications Officer Mox interrupted. We are receiving a transmission from one of the approaching units. Tarn stared at the screen, his confidence evaporating. Put it through. The image changed to show a human female face, but something was different. Her eyes glowed with an internal blue light, and faint lines of the same energy traced patterns across her skin. Captain Vorax Tarn, she said, her voice layered with harmonics that hadn't been present before. This is Major Diana Wolf of Earth's Special Defense Force. You have entered our space uninvited, scanned our planet without permission, and prepared weapons targeting solutions against our world. Tarn's mandibles clicked rapidly in distress. How do you know? We know everything that happens in our system, Wolf interrupted. And we know what you really came for. The Confederation's mining operations are well documented across 17 star systems. Your pattern is consistent: identify primitive worlds, demonstrate overwhelming force, then extract resources while relegating the native species to effective servitude. Tarn struggled to regain his composure. These accusations are baseless. The Confederation brings progress and prosperity to developing worlds. Wolf's glowing eyes narrowed. Save it, Captain. We have been preparing for this day for decades. You thought us primitive because we showed you what we wanted you to see. The camera view widened to reveal Wolf integrated with the massive battle unit, her human form visible within a translucent control chamber in its chest. "You called us primitive," she continued, "but what you failed to understand is that on our world, we evolved as apex predators. We survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, plagues, and our own nuclear arsenals. We endured because adaptation is what we do best." Behind her, the other 7 battle units took flanking positions around the Eternal Seeker. "We have studied the wreckage of a Krezlor ship that crashed on our world long ago," Wolf explained. "We learned. We adapted their technology to our purposes. We waited. And now," her lips curved into a predatory smile, "the apex predator is awake." Tarn looked to his tactical officer in panic. "Combat status." "Too late, Captain," Wolf said calmly. "Your weapons systems are already locked down." The Krezlor were thorough in their design of these units. Each one carries override protocols for most known spacefaring species technology. "This is an act of war against the Confederation," Tarn sputtered. "No, Captain. This is a warning." Wolf leaned closer to the camera. "You have 1 hour to leave our solar system. During that time, we will be downloading your ship's database to learn everything about this Confederation of yours. We consider it an educational exchange." "You can't." "We can. We are. And when you report back to your superiors, tell them this: Earth is not primitive. Earth is not defenseless. And Earth is not for sale." The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge of the Eternal Seeker in stunned silence. Science Officer Vex was the first to speak. "Captain, they have bypassed our security protocols. They are accessing the main database." Tarn stared at the view screen, where the 8 battle units hovered in perfect formation around his ship. His mandibles drooped in defeat. "Let them have it. Prepare for immediate departure once they release control of our systems." "Sir?" Lieutenant Doven questioned, shocked. "You saw those units, Lieutenant. Do you know what the Krezlor were? They were the Confederation's greatest adversary before their mysterious extinction. If these humans have mastered Krezlor technology..." Tarn shuddered visibly. "We need to report this immediately." As the Eternal Seeker prepared for retreat, Captain Tarn watched the blue-green planet with new eyes. They had grievously underestimated these humans. The Confederation had encountered many species throughout the galaxy, but never one that had so thoroughly deceived initial assessments. Perhaps, Tarn thought with growing dread, they had finally met a species more dangerous than themselves. And the apex predator was just beginning to stir. The Confederation Central Command Station orbiting Nexus Prime was an impressive sight, a massive ring structure with spokes extending to a central hub, all gleaming with the metallic sheen of advanced alloys. Ships of various designs docked along the outer ring, representing the 23 species that comprised the Galactic Confederation. Captain Vorax Tarn felt none of his usual pride as the Eternal Seeker approached the station. His mandibles hung limply, a sign of extreme stress in his species. The ship had fled Earth's solar system at maximum speed, not slowing until they were safely beyond the reach of those terrifying battle units. "Docking procedures initiated, Captain," Lieutenant Doven reported, his voice subdued. The entire crew had been walking on proverbial eggshells since their hasty departure. "Very good, Lieutenant," Tarn replied mechanically. Science Officer Vex approached his command chair. "Captain, the High Council has requested our immediate presence upon docking. All senior officers." Tarn's compound eyes fixed on the view screen, still displaying the rear-view image of Earth's solar system, now merely a distant point of light. "Of course they have. We have discovered a potentially catastrophic security threat. The Krezlor technology in human hands." He trailed off, mandibles clicking nervously. "Do you think they will believe us?" Vex asked quietly. "They will have to," Tarn said. "The sensor data doesn't lie. Those were Krezlor battle units, somehow integrated with human operators. And they downloaded our entire database, Vex. Everything: star charts, technological specifications, defense protocols. Everything. The implications hung in the air between them. The Confederation had built its power on technological superiority and the careful management of developing species. A previously unknown race armed with Krezlor technology and Confederation data represented an unprecedented threat. "Sir," Communications Officer Mox interrupted, "we are receiving priority clearance for immediate docking." "The High Council is waiting." Tarn straightened his posture. "Then let's not keep them waiting any longer. Prepare the sensor logs and all communication records with the humans. The Council will want to see everything." The High Council chamber was intimidating by design, a vast circular room with seats rising in concentric tiers around a central speaking platform. Representatives from all 23 Confederation species occupied the seats, their diverse physiologies creating a living tapestry of galactic biodiversity. At the highest tier sat the 7 members of the Inner Council, the true power behind the Confederation. Currently, only 5 positions were filled: the Vraks, the Minorians, the Geth Collective, the Telosians, and the Drath. The Krezlor's seat had been empty for millennia, and the progenitors had withdrawn from active governance centuries ago. High Councillor Xanthivos of the Vraks, current head of the Council, leaned forward as Captain Tarn took the speaking platform. Her silver-scaled skin caught the light, and her 6-fingered hands steepled before her face. "Captain Tarn," she began, her voice amplified throughout the chamber, "we have reviewed your preliminary report. It is disturbing. Do you stand by your claim that humans, a pre-FTL species, possess functional Krezlor battle units?" Tarn's mandibles clicked in affirmation. "I do, High Councillor. We encountered 8 such units, each piloted by a human integrated through what appeared to be a neural interface. They displayed full command of the unit's capabilities, including override protocols for Confederation systems." A murmur ran through the assembled representatives. "Impossible," declared Councillor Drathmorven, his gaseous form swirling agitatedly within his containment field. "The Krezlor were exterminated 15,000 cycles ago. Their technology was supposedly lost." "Supposedly," agreed Tarn. "Yet I saw their battle units with my own eyes. My crew can confirm, as can our sensor logs." Science Officer Vex stepped forward, presenting a data crystal. "The evidence is conclusive, Councillors. These were indeed Krezlor units, though modified to accommodate human pilots." Councillor Tila Min of the Telosians, her crystalline exoskeleton glittering under the chamber lights, spoke next. "How would primitive humans acquire such technology? The Krezlor never established outposts in that sector." "Known," Tarn admitted. "The human called Major Wolf mentioned a crashed ship on their world decades ago. Our records show no Confederation vessels lost in that system." "Because it wasn't a Confederation vessel," interrupted a new voice. All eyes turned to the entrance of the chamber, where a tall, robed figure stood. The hood was pulled back to reveal a face that resembled polished marble, with intricate lines of blue energy pulsing beneath the surface. "Sentinel Czar," Councillor Vos acknowledged, surprise evident in her tone. "The progenitors rarely grace us with their presence these days." The progenitor moved toward the central platform, each step deliberate and precise. Tarn hastily moved aside, his species' instinctive deference to the oldest race in the Confederation taking over. "The humans speak the truth about a crashed ship," Sentinel Czar stated, his voice resonating with harmonic undertones. "A Krezlor scout vessel crash landed on Earth in their year 1947. We detected the impact but deemed it inconsequential. The ship was believed destroyed, the crew dead." "You knew?" Councillor Morven's gaseous form rippled with indignation. "Why was the Council not informed?" "It was deemed unnecessary," Czar replied simply. "The humans were primitive, barely emerging from their second global conflict. The possibility that they could salvage anything useful from Krezlor wreckage was considered statistically insignificant." "Yet they did," Tarn interjected, then immediately regretted his boldness when the progenitor's glowing eyes turned to him. "Indeed, Captain. A significant miscalculation on our part." Czar turned back to the Council. "The humans have demonstrated exceptional adaptability. They not only salvaged the technology but integrated with it on a neural level, something even the Confederation struggled to achieve during the Krezlor Wars. "This changes everything," Counselor Vos stated gravely. "If humans possess functional Krezlor technology and now have access to our database," she left the implication hanging. "They represent a clear and present danger to Confederation security," Counselor Morvan finished. "We must act decisively." "What do you propose?" asked Counselor Tylemin. "A preemptive strike? Against Krezlor battle units?" Tarn couldn't help but exclaim. "With respect, Counselors, direct conflict would be catastrophic. Those units were capable of neutralizing my ship's systems instantly." "Captain Tarn is correct," Sentinel Czar confirmed. "The 8 units you encountered represent only the beginning of the threat. If humans have mastered Krezlor integration technology, they could potentially produce more. Many more." The council chamber erupted in alarmed discussions. Sentinel Czar raised a hand, and silence immediately fell. "Before we proceed further, there is something else you should know," the progenitor said. "The Krezlor ship that crashed on Earth was no ordinary scout vessel. It was carrying experimental technology prototype battle units designed for the final offensive against the Confederation." "But the Krezlor were defeated," Counselor Vos said, confusion evident in her voice. "Were they?" Czar's glowing eyes surveyed the chamber. "The official history states that the Krezlor were exterminated after their attempted rebellion against the Confederation. The truth is more complex. Their defeat was not as absolute as the records suggest." Another murmur ran through the chamber, this one tinged with unmistakable fear. "Are you suggesting," Counselor Morvan asked slowly, "that the Krezlor might have survived? That they might be returning?" "I am suggesting," Czar replied carefully, "that the technology now in human hands was designed with one purpose: to counter and defeat Confederation forces. Whether wielded by Krezlor or humans, it represents an existential threat." Captain Tarn felt a cold dread spreading through his body. The human called it an educational exchange. They weren't just defending their planet, they were studying us. "Precisely," Captain Czar confirmed. "And now they have everything they need to understand their new position in the galactic community. The question is, what will they do with that knowledge?" In Earth orbit, the 8 Krezlor battle units hovered in formation around the International Space Station, which now seemed tiny and fragile beside their massive forms. Inside Unit 7, Major Diana Wolf was still adjusting to the neural interface that connected her mind directly to the ancient war machine. Status report, she subvocalized, the thought instantly transmitted to the other 7 pilots. "Neural integration holding steady at 87%. reported Lieutenant Omar Dixon from Unit 3. "The AI cores are fully responsive. It's like having another consciousness alongside my own, but we are working in harmony." "Same here," confirmed Captain Tyler Ross in Unit 5. "The knowledge transfer is incredible. I now understand technologies that shouldn't even be possible according to our physics." Wolf nodded. The motion translated to her battle unit's massive head. "General Parker, are you receiving our telemetry?" "Loud and clear, Major," Parker's voice came through the communication link. "The data you extracted from the Confederation vessel is being analyzed as we speak. Dr. Reed is particularly interested in their FTL capabilities." "It's all there," Wolf confirmed. "Star charts, technological specifications, cultural databases for 23 member species. And something else, something they tried to bury deep in their classified files." "What did you find?" Parker asked, his voice sharpening. Wolf's expression hardened. "The truth about the Krezlor, the species that built these battle units. According to Confederation records, they were completely exterminated 15,000 years ago after an attempted rebellion." "Exterminated?" Parker repeated. "An entire spacefaring species?" "Genocide," General Wolf stated flatly. "The Confederation presents itself as a benevolent organization guiding developing worlds, but their history tells a different story. Species that don't conform to their hierarchy, or that develop technologies they can't control, are systematically eliminated. Silence stretched across the communication link. "And now they know we have Krezlor technology," Parker finally said. "What do you think their response will be? Based on historical precedent, they will attempt to neutralize the threat. Us." Wolf looked out at Earth below, blue and peaceful. "But they will be cautious now. They will want to assess our full capabilities first." "How much time do we have?" Wolf consulted the battle unit's AI core, which had been analyzing Confederation tactical doctrines. "Difficult to say. Days, maybe weeks while they debate and plan. The Confederation isn't a monolith, there are political factions with different approaches. But make no mistake, they will come." "Then we need to prepare," Parker said grimly. "How many more of these battle units can we bring online?" "We have 12 more in storage," Dr. Reed interjected. "But finding compatible pilots and completing the neural integration process takes time. And there's something else you should know." "Go ahead, Doctor." "According to the data Major Wolf extracted, these aren't just any Krezlor battle units. They are prototypes for what the Krezlor called the final solution weapon specifically designed to counter Confederation technology. That's why they have those override protocols that worked on the Eternal Seeker." Wolf felt a chill despite the perfect temperature regulation of her neural chamber. They were planning a last stand. "And now that stand falls to us," Parker concluded. "Options, people?" Captain Ross spoke up. "We could try diplomacy. Reach out to the Confederation. Explain that we have no hostile intentions as long as they respect our sovereignty." "After what we have seen in their historical records," Lieutenant Dixon countered, "they have obliterated entire civilizations for less than what we have done. Taking their data alone would be considered an act of war." Wolf considered the tactical options presented by her battle unit's AI core. "We need allies. According to the Confederation database, there are non-member species throughout the galaxy. Some have managed to maintain independence despite Confederation pressure." "Can we reach them?" Parker asked. Wolf hesitated. "Maybe. The battle units have FTL capabilities we haven't fully explored yet. The neural interface is showing me possibilities." "What kind of possibilities?" "The Krezlor weren't working alone," Wolf said slowly as the information unfolded in her mind. "Their rebellion had supporters other species who chafed under Confederation rule. And there's something else, something about the Krezlor themselves." "What about them?" Dr. Reed pressed. Wolf's eyes widened as the battle unit's AI core revealed its most closely guarded secret. "They are not extinct. At least, not completely. Before their final defeat, they sent Orcs colony ships beyond Confederation space. The coordinates are stored in our battle unit's memory cores." "What?" Parker's voice was hushed. "Are you saying we could potentially find surviving Krezlor?" "If they survived, they'd be our natural allies against the Confederation," Wolf confirmed. "And they might have more advanced technology than what we have recovered." "It's a huge gamble," Parker noted. "Sending our only operational battle units on a mission beyond our solar system, leaving Earth potentially defenseless." "Not all of them," Wolf decided. 4 units remain here to protect Earth. The other 4 will seek out these potential allies. It's our best chance, General." After a moment of consideration, Parker gave his authorization. "Make it happen, Major. But remember, your primary mission is the defense of Earth. If you have to choose between finding allies and returning home to protect our planet, I expect you to make the right call." Wolf nodded grimly. "Understood, sir. We will depart in 24 hours, once we have fully analyzed the FTL capabilities and navigation systems." As the communication ended, Wolf gazed out at the stars beyond Earth's atmosphere. Somewhere out there, a galactic empire was planning humanity's subjugation or destruction. And somewhere else, perhaps, potential allies waited, not knowing that humanity was about to enter the galactic stage in a way no one could have predicted. "They called us primitive," she murmured to herself. "They are about to learn just how wrong they were." 3 weeks later, aboard the Confederation dreadnought Inevitable Justice, Fleet Commander Zorik Zan watched the holographic display of Earth's solar system with growing unease. The Fleet 30 warship's strong maintained position just beyond the system's heliopause, hidden from primitive human detection methods. Report, he ordered, his tentacles rippling with impatience. Strategic Officer Lyrax Khan approached, her exoskeleton clicking softly against the deck. Long-range scans confirm 4 Krezlor battle units remain in Earth orbit, Commander. Our stealth probes detected 4 others departing the system approximately 18 Earth days ago on a vector toward the outer rim. Seeking the Krezlor remnants, no doubt, Zan mused. Sentinel Tsar's intelligence was accurate. Yes, Commander. The humans are proceeding exactly as predicted. Zan studied the tactical display. And the planet's defenses? Minimal beyond the battle units. Their conventional military poses no threat to Confederation vessels. However, Khan hesitated. Continue, Strategic Officer. We have detected unusual activity at several subterranean installations. Energy signatures suggest they are activating more battle units. Zan's skin darkened his species equivalent of a frown. How many? Unknown. The installations are heavily shielded, but based on power consumption, at least a dozen. Then we must strike now before they can bring more units online. Zan turned to his communications officer. Signal the fleet. Prepare for Phase 1. Commander, Khan interjected. The High Council authorized reconnaissance only. An attack requires further approval. Zan's tentacles coiled tightly, a sign of resolve. The situation has evolved beyond the Council's initial assessment. These humans have proven both resourceful and dangerous. If they activate more battle units, or worse, if they make contact with Krezlor survivors, the Confederation itself could be threatened. He moved to the center of the command deck. I take full responsibility for this decision. The Confederation's security is paramount. We will neutralize the immediate threat, then establish control of the planet before these humans can further weaponize Krezlor technology. And if they resist? Khan asked quietly. Zan's skin darkened to nearly black. Then they will share the Krezlor's fate. Signal the fleet. Attack Formation Delta. Target the battle units first, then their military installations. As the massive dreadnought moved forward, leading the fleet toward Earth, Zan couldn't shake a feeling of foreboding. The humans had already surprised them once. What other surprises might these supposedly primitive beings have in store? Major Diana Wolf and her team had traversed 16 light-years in their 4 Krezlor battle units, pushing the ancient FTL drives to their limits. The neural interface had revealed capabilities beyond what Earth scientists had discovered in decades of study. Approaching the coordinates, Wolf announced as they dropped out of FTL near a binary star system. Sensors active. Looking for any sign of Krezlor activity. I'm detecting artificial structures on the 3rd planet, Lieutenant Dixon reported from Unit 3. Definitely not natural formations. Life signs? Wolf asked. Inconclusive at this range. The battle unit's AI suggests an approach vector that minimizes our profile. Wolf nodded. Proceed with caution. If there are Krezlor survivors here, they might shoot first and ask questions later. The 4 massive units accelerated toward the distant planet, their advanced stealth systems engaged. As they drew closer, details emerged: a world largely covered in oceans, with scattered land masses hosting what appeared to be cities constructed of a material that shimmered with an internal blue light. Those structures match Krezlor architectural patterns in our database, Captain Ross confirmed from Unit 5. But they have evolved. These are more organic. Movement detected, warned Lieutenant Dixon. Multiple objects launching from the planet's surface. Configuration unknown. Wolf tensed. Defensive posture. No hostile actions unless fired upon. The approaching vessels were sleek and streamlined, unlike the angular Confederation ships or the humanoid battle units. They moved with incredible grace, almost like living creatures swimming through space. They are hailing us, reported Sergeant Anya Petrov from Unit 8. The signal matches ancient Krezlor protocols. Wolf took a deep breath. Open a channel. The communication screen flickered to life, revealing a being that resembled the images of Krezlor in their database, but with significant differences. The marble-like skin was the same, but the blue energy lines beneath were more pronounced, more intricate. The eyes glowed with the same energy, intelligent and wary. "Identify yourselves," the being said in accented but clear English. "You pilot Krezlor battle units, yet you are not Krezlor." Wolf blinked in surprise. "You speak our language?" "We have been monitoring your world's transmissions for decades," the being replied. "We know of humanity. What we do not know is how you came to possess our ancestors' weapons or why you have sought us out." "My name is Major Diana Wolf of Earth," she introduced herself. "We recovered a crashed Krezlor vessel on our world decades ago. We have been studying and adapting the technology since then. Recently we made first contact with the Galactic Confederation, who attempted to subjugate our planet. We used these battle units to drive them off." The Krezlor's eyes widened. "You confronted the Confederation? And survived?" "More than survived," Wolf said with a hint of pride. "We accessed their database before they retreated. That's how we found your coordinates." The Krezlor was silent for a moment, seemingly communicating with others off-screen. "This is unprecedented. No species has successfully repelled a Confederation incursion in 15,000 cycles. Not since our ancestors' failed rebellion. We believe the Confederation will return with greater forces," Wolf continued. "We came seeking allies who understand the threat they pose." "You ask for an alliance? With beings you just met?" "We ask for mutual support against a common enemy," Wolf clarified. "The Confederation tried to conquer us. Their historical records show they exterminated your ancestors. We believe they will try to finish the job if they learn of your survival." Another pause as the Krezlor consulted off-screen. "You will be escorted to our capital city. There you will meet with the Council of Elders. They will determine the truth of your words and the possibility of alliance." As the communication ended, Wolf exchanged glances with her team through their neural link. Well, that went better than expected. "They seem different from what the Confederation records described," Dixon noted. "Less militaristic. 15,000 years of hiding and rebuilding would change any species," Wolf reasoned. "Let's just hope they still remember who their enemies are." The Krezlor city was breathtaking spires of the same shimmering material they'd observed from orbit, rising organically from the landscape as if grown rather than built. The 4 battle units were directed to a massive circular plaza, where hundreds of Krezlor had gathered to witness their arrival. Wolf and her team emerged from their units, the neural interfaces disengaging smoothly. After weeks connected to the ancient machines, standing on solid ground in their human bodies felt strange, almost limiting. A delegation approached, led by an elder Krezlor whose energy patterns glowed with particular intensity. "I am Elder Voran," he introduced himself, last survivor of the final war. "These battle units you pilot, they were my creation 15,000 cycles ago." Wolf bowed respectfully. "It's an honor to meet their creator. They have served us well." "They were never meant for human use," Voran noted, circling Wolf with evident curiosity. "Yet you have achieved neural integration." "Fascinating. We had decades to study them," Wolf explained. "Our scientists are resourceful." "Clearly." Voran gestured toward a towering structure at the plaza's center. "Come. The Council awaits. They are eager to hear of Earth and of the Confederation's current state." As they walked, surrounded by curious Krezlor, Dixon leaned close to Wolf. "Is it just me, or are they much friendlier than the Confederation records suggested?" "Propaganda," Wolf whispered back. "The Confederation portrayed them as warmongers to justify genocide. But I'm getting a very different impression." Elder Voran led them into a chamber reminiscent of an amphitheater, where 7 Krezlor sat in a semicircle. Their energy patterns were varied, some blue like Voran's, others tending toward green or purple. "Honored elders," Voran announced, "I present humans from Earth who have mastered our ancient battle technology and defied the Confederation. The Central Elder, whose energy patterns pulsed with deep purple light, leaned forward. "Tell us your story, humans. Omit nothing." For the next hour, Wolf recounted Earth's history with the Krezlor technology from the crashed ship to the recent Confederation encounter. She shared the data they'd extracted, including the Confederation's plans for Earth and their discovery of the Krezlor survivors' coordinates. When she finished, the Council was silent for several moments. For 15,000 cycles, the purple-tinged Elder finally said, "We have hidden, rebuilt, evolved. We abandoned the path of war that led to our ancestors' downfall. We hoped the Confederation might change as well, might grow beyond its imperialistic nature." "They haven't," Wolf said simply. "Their first instinct upon encountering Earth was to exploit it. And now they know of your connection to us," Voran added gravely. "They will see it as history repeating another species wielding Krezlor technology against them. They will not show restraint." The Central Elder nodded slowly. "We have monitored Confederation movements. Already, a fleet approaches your world. They mean to end the threat before it truly begins." Wolf's blood ran cold. "When? They will reach Earth within days." Wolf exchanged alarmed glances with her team. "We need to return immediately. Our planet has only 4 battle units for defense. Even with all 8, you could not stand against a full Confederation assault fleet," Voran stated. "Not without additional resources." The Central Elder rose. "For millennia we have walked the path of peace, hoping never again to face the Confederation in war. But we cannot stand by while another species faces extinction for the crime of independence." "What are you suggesting?" Wolf asked. "An alliance," the Elder declared. "Not just with my people, but with others who have suffered under Confederation oppression. We are not alone in the shadows of the galaxy." Voran nodded. "Since our defeat, we have built a network species who resist Confederation control, who share technology and resources in secret. Together we might challenge their dominance." "The Coalition of Free Worlds," another Elder explained, waiting for the right moment to emerge from hiding. Wolf felt a surge of hope. "And you think that moment is now?" "Perhaps." The Central Elder approached Wolf directly. "Return to Earth with our emissaries. We will provide technologies to enhance your defenses. Meanwhile, we will contact our coalition allies. If humanity proves worthy in this coming battle, you may have found not just allies, but a new future among the stars." When the Confederation fleet dropped out of FTL at the edge of Earth's solar system, the fleet commander Zan expected to find a primitive planet with a handful of salvaged Krezlor weapons. What greeted him instead was a defensive line of ships unlike any he had ever seen, sleek, organic vessels surrounding the 8 reactivated Krezlor battle units. "Impossible," he whispered as his tactical display updated. "Those are Selvarian cruisers, Olixan destroyers, Vixari carriers." His tentacles writhed in agitation. "All species thought extinct or subjugated centuries ago." Strategic Officer Khan's exoskeleton paled with shock. "On the Coalition of Free Worlds. It's not a myth." "Hail the enemy fleet," Zan ordered, his voice tight with controlled panic. All ships, battle stations. The communication screen activated, showing a human female, the same one that had confronted Captain Tarn. Beside her stood a Krezlor and representatives of at least 5 other non-Confederation species. "Fleet Commander Zan," Wolf greeted him calmly. "Your invasion force is impressive. 30 ships enough to subjugate a primitive world, as you expected. But as you can see, Earth is no longer alone. This alliance is a violation of Confederation law," Zan blustered, though his confidence was clearly shaken. "All these species are subject to Confederation authority." "No," the Krezlor beside Wolf stated firmly. "We rejected your authority 15,000 cycles ago. We have built something better in exile, a true coalition of equals, not an empire of exploitation." Wolf leaned forward. "You have 2 options, Commander. Retreat and inform your High Council that Earth and the Coalition are now off limits to Confederation expansion. Or attack, and discover firsthand why the Krezlor battle units were once the most feared weapons in the galaxy. Zan's skin darkened with rage. You cannot hope to defeat a Confederation battle fleet. Perhaps not, Wolf conceded. But we can hurt you badly enough that the next fleet will hesitate, and the next. And while you lick your wounds, more of your subjugated worlds might get ideas about independence. The Krezlor nodded. The age of Confederation dominance is ending, Commander. Too many species have suffered for too long. Earth is merely the catalyst for a change long overdue. Zan stared at the tactical display, calculating odds and outcomes. His fleet was formidable, but the coalition forces were an unknown quantity. And those battle units, even one had neutralized Captain Tarn's cruiser effortlessly. Your orders, Commander? Strategic Officer Khan prompted quietly. After a long moment, Zan made his decision. All ships, stand down weapons, maintain position. He turned back to the communication screen. This is not over. The High Council will not accept this challenge to Confederation authority. Then tell them this, Wolf replied. Earth doesn't want war. The Coalition doesn't want war. What we want is recognition of our sovereignty, our independence, our right to determine our own futures. If the Confederation can accept that, perhaps we can coexist peacefully. And if not, the Krezlor added, remind them what happened the last time they faced Krezlor battle units. Only this time we are not alone. As the communication ended, Zan gave the order to withdraw. The Confederation fleet reversed course, retreating to safe distance for FTL jump. The battle that might have ended humanity's brief interstellar emergence had been averted not through superior firepower, but through unexpected alliances and the courage to stand firm. On Earth, celebrations erupted as news spread of the Confederation's retreat. The primitive species that had been dismissed as easy prey had instead changed the galactic balance of power overnight. In orbit, Major Diana Wolf stood with her new allies, watching the Confederation fleet disappear into FTL. This is just the beginning, isn't it? She asked the Krezlor elder beside her. Indeed, he replied, his energy patterns pulsing with what she now recognized as hope. For 15,000 cycles we have hidden in the shadows, building our strength in secret. Now, with Earth as our ally, the Coalition can finally emerge into the light. Wolf smiled. They called us primitive because we hadn't mastered faster-than-light travel or gravity manipulation. But they missed what truly matters: adaptability, determination, the will to fight for our freedom. The traits of an apex predator, the elder agreed. The Confederation has forgotten what it means to face a worthy opponent. They have grown complacent in their dominance. Their mistake, Wolf said simply. As Earth rotated below them, the first human to forge an interstellar alliance gazed out at the stars, not as distant points of light, but as future destinations, future allies, future possibilities. The galaxy was wider and more complex than humanity had ever imagined, and humanity, it seemed, was ready. The apex predator was awake, and the galaxy would never be the same.